I'm at one of the best birding spots in the state of Utah, Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. And I'm not just here out of random, I do have a target for today, a nemesis bird for the state of Utah, a western cattle egret. I've only seen this bird once before, all the way out at the Salton Sea, but I really desperately am trying to fill in my Utah list. I want to hit that 300 bird mark on my life list for Utah. Allison is joining me in a little bit, and the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge, like I mentioned, is one of the best spots in Utah. So let's see what amazing birds we can find today. Wow, today's been eventful already. No sign of the cattle egrets so far, but we've already seen some incredible birds. First though, I got my camera lifer raccoon. That's pretty cool. It's difficult to see raccoons, they're nocturnal creatures, but we did get one on camera today, so that was pretty awesome. And then right after that, we ended up seeing my favorite owl of all time, the barn owl. It was sitting on a post. Actually, it was right after we saw the raccoon. So the raccoon popped up and I almost blew right past the barn owl, but Allison spotted it, so kudos to Allison. Absolutely incredible to see that bird. I never get tired of seeing barn owls. And then one more owl species already today, great horned owl behind me in this building over here. They nest in this area. It's pretty cool to see that bird as well. So honestly, if that's all I saw today, that would be a successful, awesome day of birding. But we have 12 to 13 more miles to go on this loop. There's plenty more birds to see. Let's see what's out there.
Starting off the trip was amazing, but there were other incredible birds around, like this great blue heron flying silently by, catching the newly born rays of the sun with its wings. An American white pelican swam its bulky body through one of the waterways. These birds will make a fantastic appearance later, so stay tuned as we'll talk about pelicans, airport navigation, and how those two things come together for some awesome research. This is a perfect example of a Clark's grebe. You can see how clearly the black goes above the eye, and a thin line connects the beak and the eye together. A gulp of barn swallows. Yes, I recently learned that a group of swallows was called a gulp, stood on the invasive Phragmites plant as it whisked back and forth in the wind. A bird I always get excited to see due to its contrasted black and white body, the eastern kingbird, perched regally surveying the surrounding scene, absorbing the orange rays of the sunrise.
I don't know what's in the water lately, but we've been on a mammal roll, getting lifers and camera lifers. It's been absolutely incredible. I honestly find mammals harder to track down and find, especially not big mammals like rodents and even things like raccoons and skunks. But I just picked up my lifer stoat, or ermine. Official name will be up on the screen. I've seen these creatures actually a few times, so I guess this would be a camera lifer. And I've seen them when they're all white in the winter, and now on camera we have them in their summer coat, which is reddish brown on the top and white on the bottom. Absolutely incredible creature. It was standing up on two hind legs and it was hunting along the road. It's actually the second one we've seen this trip. I didn't get the first one on camera, unfortunately. But yeah, super happy to finally get this beautiful mammal on camera. And we're about halfway through the refuge at this point. Again, no cattle egrets, but we were expecting to see those on the road here. Instead, we saw a barn owl, which I'll take a barn owl any day, my favorite owl of all time. We've seen some awesome birds, as you've seen along the way, but we have so much more ground to cover, and you never know what you're gonna find while birding, so stay with me. We've got a lot more to go.
Back on the road, two sandhill cranes soared into their landing pad, skimming the tops of the high-reaching plants as they descended. Now this is a tricky guy to spot. Somewhere in this picture is a Wilson's snipe. Can you see it anywhere? It's incredible how well these snipes' camouflage works when blended in with the grass. I was really excited to get this bird on camera, as it's only the third time this bird has been featured on the channel. Two western grebes swam in the water in front of us. Again, these are western grebes because the black falls below the eye. However, you may notice that the younger grebe does kind of look like a Clark's, so be careful and look at the surrounding birds for identification. A very hard to get on camera bird, the marsh wren, stood singing just across the dirt road. These birds have given me trouble in the past, but it was great to see this one being so cooperative out in the open. Large fish, which I believe are carp, although if you're a fish person, feel free to correct me in the comments below, kept breaching the surface of the water. It's no wonder to me how ancient civilizations thought that lake monsters were a thing. Just look at this twisted mess of fish. Ah yes, now the promised story of the pelicans. American white pelicans are the second largest wingspan birds in North America. They have an average wingspan of 9 feet. This makes them a huge issue for planes because if a plane hits a flock of pelicans, it could be in a world of trouble. To combat this, researchers at Utah State University, which is my school, are putting GPS trackers on pelicans and cross-referencing those trackers with weather radar. Yeah, pelicans are so big that they turn up on the radar. They're doing this to map their flight patterns and areas. This is to help the airport avoid common pelican flight routes and make flying safer for everyone. It's a pretty cool solution to a very large problem. Pelicans can fly at 10,000 feet, and Utah State researchers say they can reach up to 30,000 feet. This obviously is airplane territory, and with a large international airport adjacent to pelican hotspots, this research could save lives. I'll leave a link in the description below if you'd like to read more. A beautiful iridescent bird took off from the pool of water. These birds are white-faced ibises. I have yet still to find a vagrant glossy ibis, even though they turn up in Utah annually. A pair of black-necked stilts, one of Utah's staple migratory species, appeared on the shores. Just below it, a spotted sandpiper bobbed its tail, up and down, like it always does. Another Utah staple, the American avocet, skimmed the water looking for food. This bird uses a feeding method called scything. It uses its unique bill to sweep from one side to the other to find food. Running across the road was a family of ring-necked pheasants, an introduced species to the state of Utah for hunting. They're pretty widespread now, especially in the northern part of the state. Now here's a challenge for you. This is obviously a duck, but let me know in the comments below what you think this duck is. This time of year is so difficult for duck ID for me, so I could use your help. A great blue heron waded through the shallow water. Fish breached all around it, creating one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen while observing this species.
All right, Allison and I are on the tail end of our Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge trip today, and we've seen some incredible things so far. Unfortunately, no western cattle egret. Still remains a nemesis bird for me, but it's not the end of the line. In fact, they were reported almost exclusively on the road out here, not on the actual refuge itself. So we still have a chance of seeing them. We've seen some really awesome species so far. Got more looks of a spotted sandpiper. You saw one earlier in the video, a little bit obscured, and this time we got much better looks of them, more out in the open. So we have about, I'd say, 1/3 of the way to go. Luckily, on this third, the sun will be behind us, so we'll be able to see a lot more. The sun is directly in our eyes. We've actually been on a mammal kick. We saw the raccoon, got that on camera. We saw the stoat, got that on camera. Then we had a skunk walk almost right up to Allison, and I ran away from it and did not get it on camera, unfortunately. Did not want to get sprayed. I wish I kind of would have just stuck around a little bit to at least get a photo. And then we just had a muskrat run across the road here. So we've seen 4 mammal species today. That's a lot, honestly. I don't know what it is right now, but I guess late summer is the time of year to see mammals. We're gonna continue driving and see, of course, what other birds we can find.
Above us, a bird ripped through the sky, a juvenile black-crowned night heron. This bird is the most widespread heron in the entire world and breeds on every continent except for Australia and, of course, Antarctica. Another female pheasant skimmed through the tall grass along the banks of the river. This bird originated from southwestern and central China around 1.2 million years ago. It then spread over time across Korea and Taiwan. It has now been introduced across North America and Europe. White-faced ibis are really interesting birds. They used to be considered the same species as glossy ibis, and some authorities actually consider them to still be the same. However, most global taxonomic authorities consider them to be a separate species. No wonder it's so hard to tell the two species apart. My favorite hawk species from Utah stood on top of a round bush. The Swainson's hawk goes to and from its breeding grounds in the US and Canada, sometimes traveling in groups of thousands of birds. Its migration is more than 10,000 kilometers each way, the longest of all raptors behind the Arctic peregrine falcon, which is a subspecies of the peregrine falcon. Two western kingbirds chattered at each other from the tops of the trees. We headed away from the refuge hoping to find my nemesis bird and looking for cattle along the way. My skills at spotting cows eventually paid off.
All right, so I have some good news. We found the nemesis bird, western cattle egrets. Of course, they're hanging out in this field behind me by these cows. Now the heat shimmer is so bad right now because the air is cool and it's also heating up really quickly, and so it's just creating horrible heat waves at this point. And so this is the best footage I can get of these birds. They're just gonna look like little white blobs out there, but that is finally a bird I can knock off my list. Now, if we get better views of the cattle egrets, of course I will show you coming up here. There's more cows that are closer to us, but it's absolutely incredible to finally knock this bird off of my Utah list and not have to worry about it anymore. Of course, I'd love to see it again, but it's just a bird that I've chased so many times. It's great to finally find it. So we drove down the road a little bit further and we got much better views of the western cattle egrets out here. Again, this is a nemesis bird that I've been searching for at least 2 years at this point, for the state of Utah specifically. I did pick this bird up as a lifer at the Salton Sea, but I'm really focused on my Utah list and hitting 300 birds. Absolutely incredible to see this bird. It's kind of bittersweet because you search for something for so long and then when you find it, you gotta move on to the next bird. At this point, it's really hard for me to find lifers in the state of Utah, but I still have a lot of state birds to fill the gaps in with. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on while we're here at home.
We didn't end up seeing any other birds on the road. I just wanted to jump in here real quick. I didn't explain it as well as I wanted to in the video about the Road to 300 Utah goal that I have going on. This mini series on the channel will only happen obviously when we're in the state of Utah. It's about me reaching 300 birds. I'm only 14 away at this point after this video. And then once I hit 300, that'll be adapted to the Road to 350 for Utah. This is just to give me a little bit more purpose with the Utah videos. I've basically birded almost everywhere you possibly can in the state, and I think some of you are getting a little bit tired of seeing me going back to these places just to see what's out there. So this is to provide more purpose to the videos, as well as give you something to look forward to when I'm birding back home. It's going to be a lot of target hunting, and honestly, that's one of my favorite parts about birding, is going out and trying to find a specific species. This can also be adapted to other states, so I won't be in Utah forever. I'm only here for 2 more years of my program. We'll most likely move out of the state, and I can adapt this to like the Road to 100 whenever I move to a new state. In California, for example, once I reach 250 birds, I can do a Road to 300 in California as well. Whenever I go anywhere outside of these ranges though, it's just going to be more fun exploration videos. Nothing's really going to change except you're going to see the bar pop up on the top of the screen when we're in the state of Utah and when I find one of those target species. Let me know what you think about the challenge below and if I should tweak it at all. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope to see you all next time on Bright-Eyed Birding.